Who did LeBron have?
Dude, he had some bum ass team.
Anderson Varejao? Give me a fucking break. Like, beautiful. All right, we are live. Welcome back to the Targeting Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Justyn, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, man. Good to be back as always. Little bit of we took a week off there.
Yeah.
All-Star break. There was no games on all week besides just the All-Star game, which was an incredibly exciting All-Star game. But good to be back. Good to be back.
Good to be back.
How about you? How you doing?
Not bad. Not bad. Virginia got almost beat Duke. So that was semi-hopeful. I don't know if we've had a podcast actually since the night of, I remember. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it was the night of. And then since then, though, UVA with the half-court heave buzzer beater to lose against Florida State, that must have just been demoralizing as a Virginia fan.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and especially seeing it go on ESPN too. I'm like, shit.
Dude, well, and like you guys got the go-ahead bucket too, with like a second or whatever, and then to have it come right back down and nail it from half court, that's just terrible.
Armand went full court, got it, and there was like, I only think there was like points. There was less than a second, I think.
It might have been less. Yeah,
that's just crazy. Less because someone said it was like the longest 0.6 second ever, and I was like, yeah, it's tough to manage the clock in those situations, but
yeah, it is. Like, it is.
But
it is.
But no, yeah, crazy. So they're probably not making the tournament. But Kentucky, dude, Kentucky's looking good.
Kentucky is looking good. Dropped one at Arkansas, unfortunately.
Yeah. Every other top 25 team.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, all six of the top six teams all lost on Saturday, so you can't be too mad about it. But we got two big wins earlier in the week without Ty Washington or Severe Wheeler, our backcourt. So without both of them, we won both games. And then they both came back and we lost. But either way, we're still hanging in there in the top 10. I love our odds. I love our chance come March Madness. And we'll have a great March Madness episode for you guys at some point as well coming up. Selection Sunday is coming up quick.
Yeah, March 13th. So the ACC, do you know when the SEC tournament runs through?
I'm not sure. It's definitely just like a couple days before that because the SEC is probably the same.
Yeah, the ACC is 8 through 12, so the championship game will be the Saturday before Selection Sunday.
Okay, I think the SEC tournament is similar.
The same, yeah, because I think the Saturday games they run, but I'm looking forward to it.
And yeah, the conference tournaments will be awesome too. Actually, if Virginia can make some noise, they still have hope, but. Yeah, they'd have to win it, I think, probably.
They would definitely have to win it, and it's also depending on like how far, because like if the shittier teams have to play like I think 6 games to win the whole thing or something like that, whereas like the first 4 only have to play I think 3 or something like that, something crazy number.
Wow.
Just how the bracket works, they just trial it down, but no,
that's tough then. So probably not going to happen for Virginia.
Probably not. I think they would have to play like 4 games. I don't think they're going to be top 4. I don't think they're top 4 right now. So they probably have to play like 4 or 5 games. So, I mean, if they can pull it off, great for them. But I'd be interested to see what seed they would be if they did pull it off. Is the question?
Yeah.
Like if they pulled it off, because like just because you won the tournament, I don't think that like would punch your ticket to a below like 10 seed or something like that. So I could see that being like a 12.
I could see that too. The seedings are going to be crazy to see. Kentucky is probably going to end up as a 2 seed. But there's like 6 or 7 SEC teams that are going to make it. So from 2 to 14, we'll have SEC teams. The ACC the same way. I know there's going to be some in the 10 and 12 range. So man, there's going to be room for upsets as always. March is just so goddamn electric. Cannot wait.
So fun. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, we'll talk mostly NBA this episode. We're kind of freeballing this episode, Justyn. So is there a particular thing you want to start with?
Yeah, I think we're down a man this week. Julio will be back next week though. No worries about that. So yeah, just kind of it's post NBA trade deadline, post All-Star break. New look and a lot of new look teams in the NBA. Just kind of taking a look at some of these new guys' debuts and what teams are looking like contenders after the All-Star break here. I guess might as well start with Philly because they are in all the headlines with James Harden making his debut, and he's been looking absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, So in his first couple games, been putting up
Great numbers.
25 and 10 assists plus every game. I mean, he has been playing great with them. He looks great with Joel Embiid. What are you thinking of this new look Philly team? You think is better than they were before break? Before
So
they made this trade?
that's the real question. Is this team better than they are before break? I do think they're telling themselves a little bit of a story because I don't think the 76ers were necessarily bad before break. I
They
def-
weren't. Yeah, they were good. Embiid was just carrying.
they were good. Yeah. So I think it does take a little bit of the pressure off Embiid. So I think that's always nice for them since they have like another option. Um, I think this team looks good off the bat. I don't know about the long term, but short term, I think they look great. Harden's definitely made an impact, not just like with his own game, like for the team, but it seems like he's not leading, but like helping Embiid out with some step backs. I don't know if you saw that video where
I did.
Embiid was having trouble time, so Harden's like, "I'll come in, make an impact for
And
you."
then like actually after that video came out of the practice with Embiid and him just like practicing step backs. And then very next game, their debut, Embiid hit like that little double step
Well,
back three, exactly like Harden. It was like
exactly like
Jesus
Harden.
Christ.
So yeah, so clearly he's making an impact on his teammates, and I think that's always a good sign for a team. It'll be interesting. I think they're better than they were before the deadline. It just will be interesting how this team plays out in like a playoff setting, just because they haven't really had any, I would say, like games with adversity. If that makes any sense yet. Like the game
Yep.
one are kind of, I think they beat the Knicks.
It was the Knicks and the Timberwolves.
Yeah, so like good teams, but like I think they're gonna need to be tested a little more just to see what this team is like during like a team that's pretty good, like a Nets or something, Bucks or something like that. So
Yeah.
until I see that, I'm kind of like holding my breath a little bit. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you just said there. I think that this is a team that could be very good, but I like you said, I'm not gonna overreact to the opening two games being good because James Harden actually I saw a stat the other day that his in debut games after being traded, his numbers are just absolutely absurd. Like he knows how to make a first impression. His first game in Houston, coming from OKC, he put up some 30-point triple double, crazy. Did it in Brooklyn, 35 and 18 assists, and then a great debut in Philly. He knows how to make a first impression with a fan base. I think it's looked really good right now because in their two games that they have won and they've played and they've won, Harden and Embiid both went off. Embiid had 35 plus both times, and Harden also went off. The most important thing, though, in those wins is that Tyrese Maxey also went off. He had 20 plus in both their wins.
Yeah, yeah.
They're going to need a lot from Tyrese Maxey now that they traded away Seth Curry. I'll be honest. Right now, it's looking good because Tyrese has been balling. I love Tyrese Maxey. He went to Kentucky. He's my guy. I've watched him for years. But he's not the type of 3-point. He's a great 3-point shooter. I think he shoots over 40% from three, but he's not the type of guy that can make them and take them at the same volume as a guy like Seth Curry. And in the playoffs, I still think floor spacing is going to be a problem with this team. It hasn't been in the first two games because everybody's been knocking down shots. It's always exciting, fresh new team. Everybody's always motivated right now. It's like a very exciting time of the year. But, a couple months from now when we're in the playoffs, I do still think floor spacing could be an issue with this team. I think James Harden has shown in the playoffs to struggle with certain defenses. He gets, once he becomes a focal point of a defense for a 7-game series, James Harden starts to look a lot worse than he is right now. So I like it a lot. Actually, Embiid, I don't know if you saw it. Joel Embiid said after the first game that that's the most open he's ever been. He's never gotten such good looks.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I mean, in that regard, I think opening up for Embiid is actually huge. I mean, Embiid's going to have all the time, all the space he needs down low now.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think yet. I really don't know what to make of it. I think it looks good right now, and it will continue to. They're obviously going to be a playoff team. I think they could definitely win a series. But as far as making like a super deep run, I don't know if I'm sold yet. I don't know.
I think the Harden Embiid duo looks good right now because I think they want it to look good, right? Like Harden's got his guy now, right? Like in Brooklyn, the biggest problem was he just didn't have a guy to pick and roll with. Obviously, in Houston, he had Capella, but he didn't have anyone in Brooklyn. So now he's kind of got that guy back for Harden. That's great. Embiid has just been dealing with a little bitch in Ben Simmons since day one. So I think he's kind of just glad he doesn't have Ben on the team anymore. And he's got like a new guy that kind of knows what he's doing. As for the rest of the team, though, like you haven't really heard anything like how it's going. I feel like, in my opinion, like I saw a video the other day where so Harden's big on ISO ball. We all know that. But Danny Green, I don't know if you saw the video where Danny Green inbound the ball to like one of his other teams.
Yeah, and Harden's like super pissed.
Super pissed. And I like and someone commented like, and they made a good comment, like Danny Green's a veteran. Like he probably knows that like you can't just start off with the ISO ball or else everyone's just going to be guarding that fucking paint and they're not going to like let you go through. That's how it works. So if you like move the ball a little bit, then it comes to you and it's one-on-one. It's way better than if you like let them get set up and try to do your thing. So I agree with you on that point where it looks great right now. Like even just like the Harden debut numbers, like being consistent, like that looks great. I do think they're going to run into a problem where Harden's going to get guarded a lot more heavily. So is Embiid. And you're going to be like, well, where's the other guy? Like, and I don't necessarily think Maxi's that guy. I'd love to think he would be, but I think it's a lot to ask a guy who in the past hasn't needed to produce that much, so you don't need him to win. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. I think they're capable of winning a playoff series, especially against one of the worst, like poorer teams. But if whether they can go up against like a real, like a Nets or Bucks and actually like play together, I don't know if I see it like a couple months down the road, because that's an entirely different story. And that's kind of what we're looking at a Harden anyways, right? Like we're not really like unsure about his playing ability. It's not, we know he's good. It's more, can he win with the team in general? Like the problem with the Rockets was like he could never like get to that point, like the point where like the Rockets were like real contenders in the playoffs. Same thing with the Nets. He just couldn't work with Kyrie and KD. Now he's on another team. The real question is, can he make it work with the Sixers? And I guess we're gonna just have to see. But that's why, like, I think it's great for that he's doing it. But it's like, dude, we're like, that's not what we're here for. We're here to see if you can actually bring this team.
We've been seeing that for years, James. We need you to win in the playoffs, not win the regular season. I completely agree with everything you said about having Joel Embiid, having a good pick and roll guy again. And Joel Embiid's one of the best, and James Harden's one of the best. That's going to be a monster threat there as far as that combination goes, coming down on the pick and roll. I think also what you said about James Harden playing an ISO ball, and when he's playing off ball, he just looks disinterested a lot of the times in his career. It came towards the end in Houston, and basically his entire career in Brooklyn, when Durant or Kyrie had the ball, he was just sitting in the corner, disinterested, not trying to do anything. He has to be moving off the ball and finding ways to get himself open or get other people open. He can't be disinterested. That can't be a word we keep using with James Harden, because if it is, if they do get to the playoffs, and that's the same problem again, he's a hop, skip, and a jump away from being Russell Westbrook in that narrative, where he's just not a winner and nobody really wants him anymore. So it's a big moment. It's a big time for him to prove it. I think it's probably his last big chance in Philly, as far as being put together as a contending piece, as a guy that you would give up a bunch of firsts and assets for to get. Because I really do think if he were to keep playing the way he was in Brooklyn, with just the disinterest, the laziness, the no defense, I don't think he's all that far away from being in the same narrative as Russell Westbrook. No, I really don't.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But
I think it's just interesting to me how players like these can continue. Like, there's no doubt in our mind that Russell Westbrook and James Harden are going to go down as great players. That's like,
oh yeah.
But it's just amazing to me how they just can't seem to get it to gel on the teams that they are. They're almost incapable of taking like a backseat role. Like the word backseat to them just means, and I get it, because when you're at that level, you're thinking you're the shit, whatever. Like you're so good at basketball, you're one of the top players in the league. Why should you take a backseat for anything? But I think we're starting to see a trend now where it's like, sure, we can have the greatest names on our team, like in terms of hype or like popularity, whatever you want to call it. But like, can the team actually win? It's just a different game than it was, I feel like 10 years ago. Like Kobe fucking LeBron even. Like those guys were still great players and they made their teams win. But like now you just don't see like you see a higher skill level, 100%. Like just for like raw talent, but they can't seem to make it work. I don't really know what it is, but it'll be interesting in like the next decade or so of basketball to see how it plays out because you can't just have good players anymore, it seems like.
I know. Actually, I think that's a great point. Like Giannis did it with Milwaukee last
Yeah.
year, and I think with just moving out of that era, like the whole LeBron, Kobe era, even the Steph Curry era, like we're moving sort of out of this era and into a new one. It's going to be really interesting to see which of these new younger players will be able to go assert themselves as championship winners. You got to think Luka has got one of those guys, Devin Booker, Jason, like, but there's so many young guys now and we've sort of already seen it. And not to write off Harden's chances at a ring because he's
Oh yeah.
still
You still got
reasonable
a chance.
age, but
Yeah.
it seems like we sort of already have the know about him and sort of group him with some of those other older guys where it's like they're unbelievable players and they're in the NBA top 75. Harden is. Russ Westbrook also is. Like those guys are absolute legends, but as far as going to win a championship, it's hard to say, at least right now. But that's not to be down on James Harden at all or this team because I actually do think
Oh,
that they
it's not. I
look
think
really
he
good
could.
right now. They're going to be a hard out in the playoffs, but I think relying on the middle three, you have Harden, you have your lead guard Harden, you have your lead big in Embiid, but the three in the middle where it's going to most normally be Maxey, Danny Green, and Tobias Harris. I don't love that three as far as winning a championship around
Oh, I
these
agree.
two.
I agree. And I
So
think the really good players know how to make it work with three like that. Like when when LeBron was in Cleveland, who did LeBron have?
dude, he had
Gelson,
some bum ass team.
Anderson,
Ilgauskas.
Varejao. Give me a fucking break. Like, and
It was bad.
he was still able to win like series, like games. Maybe not
He
series,
went
but
to the
games.
goddamn finals with that group.
So I feel like that's when you know a good player, when you're like, all right, you can make bums, absolute bums look good. So I feel like if Harden's able to do that, I think the real thing is like I never liked that Nets team. I really didn't. Like,
I'm so glad they never won shit.
I'm glad they didn't win shit either. But you gotta admit that it's low-key disappointing that a group like that couldn't make it work. Like we could never really see what it's sort of like the 2018 Celtics. A team like that, you're like, why can't you make that work? You look at every single player on that roster and you're like, this has got to be one of the top like assembled teams, maybe like of all time. And you guys just can't make it work. It's just sort of frustrating to see, but I guess it's
I
always.
think really what it came down to in this Brooklyn case is the fact that it was those particular three, the head cases that you were dealing with these particular three. I think with that, their level of talent, it undoubtedly could have worked. But with the brains that are on top of the shoulders of those three, not so much KD. Obviously, the whole snake thing back in the day with Golden State, he's sort of past it now. I guess I don't know. I don't necessarily see KD in that light as much as I do Kyrie Irving and James Harden too, where they're just such head cases, and to have those type of emotional guys, just so selfish, so self-centered guy, like it just there's no. I'm not surprised that it didn't work because Kyrie Irving is never going to win another championship. So that's really just my.
Oh, you don't think so?
I truly do believe that. Like I just don't think he's a winner at all. I don't think you possibly have that attitude to be a winner. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm glad they were 13 and they played 16 games as a big three. That's it. 16. The Nets gave up all of that shit for James Harden and played 16 games together with that big three, and they were 13 and 3. Like
Yeah.
they could have been nasty. It's probably is the biggest what if. Will go down as the biggest what if ever, maybe in basketball. Like, or one of obviously. There's been so many, but like,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I'm not surprised it didn't work though.
It's
but
crazy.
it is wild.
It's just disappointing to see because you really, I mean, in some cases you don't want it to work out, but I mean, it's like, all right, well, this could be like cool for all NBA fans to see this just fucking trio dominate. But I guess
Totally, yeah. And if we weren't Boston fans, like coming with all this hatred at Kyrie, like
yeah,
at least
exactly.
I'll speak for myself, not you. But
No, I agree. I still am very mad at what he did. So, but moving into that, let's talk about Boston a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Boston's looking pretty good after the deadline. We had a
Very good.
loss.
And it was even before the deadline too. We've
Yeah.
just been on this run since January 1st. We're the best team in the NBA since January 1st. We are
Yeah.
we are the number one defense in the league by far now. It's not even close. Like if we keep you to 105 points or less, we'll call it 100. I saw a stat about 105, and we have a ridiculous record. It's like 25-5 or
Oh,
something in
wow.
games we let keep the other team to less than 105. But if you don't score over 100, you're just simply not beating us, and we don't make it easy to get to 100 against us.
No,
Like the
agreed.
fact that we're playing from defense to offense and playing through RD, it just reminds me of the 2017-18 team before that super ridiculously talented one you were just talking about, the one that went to the Eastern Conference Finals with just Terry and Justyn and Jalen, all the young guys. It reminds me of that team because Al Horford was at the anchor, and maybe not so much as big of an anchor right now, but he's been playing great for us. But to just be anchored on your defensive end, it just lets the offense come way more easily, and that's how Celtic
Other
basketball works.
basketball. No, definitely. I think what I will say about this team right now is they look a lot like a team. Like that was kind of the issue in the beginning of the season. You just got a bunch of fucking guys. Like Jason and Jalen are both playing two entirely different games of basketball. Like one's just playing and one's just kind of watching, or vice versa. And then you just got all these other guys. I like to call them like side characters, like Dennis Schroeder. Like what the fuck? Like you're just like watching people like play, and it's just kind of like, all right, let's just hope Jalen scores some points, Jason scores some points, Dennis or somebody else scores some points, and let's hope we win the game. And I think they kind of realized that like that type of play isn't really going to work long term. So, and I think you know what I will say is I like the leadership Jason Tatum is taking this season. I'd say he's talking a lot more for sure. I've never seen him say so many words, but
Totally.
like I feel like Jason was always this like silent killer type of guy, which I love silent killer JT. You know who doesn't? But like there's this team needed like a leader, and we always look to him like that because like he's kind of the guy. And I think before that he was kind of avoiding that role. And like, but especially after this season where they were having like that weird teeter-totter like 500 like record, I feel like we're starting to see him come into a leadership role a lot more, which excites me. And I just think this team looks like more like of a team. Like it just the way I'm seeing especially on the defensive end, maybe not so much the offensive end, but just like literally Rob Williams and Daniel Tice, like that is a duo on the defensive end you cannot get past. Like if you try to
Yeah,
drive
for
the
real.
paint,
Throw Al Horford in the mix as well. Like
you're done. You're done. You can't score any in the paint. So I'm really liking how it's working. I don't think we've talked about this since it's happened, but the Derek White thing is looking a lot better than it was when they made that deal.
he's been playing really well for us. And even actually the past few nights, I don't think he hasn't really shot the ball particularly well. But I don't even care. Like his impact on the floor is actually really noticeable. And he's active on the defensive end. He can play make. He can rebound. He pushes the floor. He's always pushing in transition. I actually do think he fits the team very well. I completely agree with what you're saying about JT in the leadership role, in that he definitely has been a way more vocal leader and everything. But offensively as well and defensively, but he has been playmaking way more. He's turned into I would almost say an elite playmaker. I mean, he's only averaging like 4 assists or something, but all the talk about Jason and Jalen not ever passing and not having the playmaking eyes and not being able to have that vision and take the next jump. I think both of them have taken a significant jump this year. I
No,
mean, we're
I
seeing
agree.
playmaking from the two of them. I'd say particularly Jason, but Jalen has his moments as well where he's just running the floor. He carries the ball off the floor, makes the right play, is switching the sides, is finding the weak side, is throwing alley oops over defend. Like he's been impressive. Both of them have been in the playmaking role, which is exactly what we needed them to do. That's what everybody's been asking them to do, and they're finally, I think, both are doing it. And it's been really good to see the ball zipping around on offense like it hasn't since 2017. It's
Yeah,
great to see.
it's great to see, and it's looking more and more like a team that has more to offer. Like that's really what Boston basketball is. Like it's like, oh, like this is great. We got a good regular season going, but come playoff time, we're a totally different animal. And I feel like especially the last couple of years, like you kind of saw what you saw. Like the best of what we were is in the regular season. I fucking hate that because it's like shit. We have nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
But this looks like what's like we're kind of it's almost like practice for the playoffs. And once we come playoff time, like we're there to go. So I'm liking what I'm seeing by far.
Dude,
I don't know if
we're really keeping teams in the 80s on just a one hit night out of an 82 game season. We're keeping teams in the 80s that can't score shit on us. How about in a 7 game series where we are literally game planning for their exact offense night after night after night? Nobody's going to be scoring shit on us.
yeah, no
I
one's
mean, we're not going to be an easy team to beat in the playoffs at all. At
I
all.
agree. It'll be interesting to see how the team can play in a 7 game series. Because I just think that right now, I think you catch us on off nights. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like Celtics basketball, especially in the playoffs, has always been like more in tune because you're playing a team for 7 games. A lot different than when you're just beating them. That's like when you find a lot of teams that like beat the Warriors once. You're like, fuck, like you can't do that for 7 games. Sure, you caught them on like an off night, whatever, out of freaking 82 games. But like the Celtics team, it seems like, especially now, I wasn't sure before January 1st, but especially now, it seems like if you can like really get this team going and get them together, then it feels like during the playoffs, especially when you're facing those tough teams like the Bucks, maybe the Nets, that it's like, all right, guys, like we really need a game plan, figure out what we're gonna do, and then that's when we'll kind of come into our own. Because I feel like of later years, it's just like, all right, we're not really a team, but we got these good guys, so we're gonna just run it. We'll see what happens. And you're like, fuck, you can't win a playoffs. You can't win the playoffs like that. Like, so I don't know. But
Yeah, I actually, and I, there was some slander potentially said on my part. Nothing crazy, but about Ime Udoka at the beginning of the year. I will say he's actually, I think he's done a lot better. And naturally, it takes time to come to a new team. He's a first time head coach to adapt with your group and end up having a good system that wins games. And I get that it takes time. It was maybe a little bit too impatient of me on the earlier
I
end of
think
this
I've said
year.
the same thing. It's
Yeah, I
tough.
think sort of all of us. I mean, just all of Boston really just kind of felt like, come on, man, like we're gonna do this again this year with another year of Jason Jalen. But he's turned things around. As you mentioned, leadership earlier. I think it's a whole fleet of leaders in that locker room, honestly, with Marcus, Jalen, Jason, Al Horford's a leader. Like, it's just a good group. I think everybody's finally talking, communicating, and has gotten involved with the fact that, look, this is a good group. We could win. We could seriously have a chance at winning games right now and late in come the postseason. So I definitely like what I see a lot. Even guys, we traded away Schroeder. We were talking about how we have like no point guard play, and how much Peyton Pritchard was going to have to step up since the trade deadline. Peyton Pritchard has been fantastic.
Oh
He
yeah.
literally doesn't miss from deep. He just takes these Steph Curry range threes and bottoms them. He's so fun to watch. It's good to see him back in the lineup. Obviously, we lost Romeo. It just frees up room for other guys to step up, and people have been doing just that. So
No, yeah.
it's been hard to complain about anything in green the past couple of weeks, the
It
past couple of
has.
months since January, because we've just been winning games and playing beautiful basketball.
Yeah. It's just right now, it's like, can we keep this up? Can we keep winning games like this? And can we continue it into the playoffs? Because I think that'll be the most important thing. But
Because it comes down to the teams that we'd be looking at are like this. We're in the 6th seed right now. There's 5 ahead of us. It's the Heat, really tough series. Can we win? Yeah, all of them are winnable, I would say, but it's gonna be really tough. The Heat, the Bulls, really tough. DeMar DeRozan is playing out of his mind.
like,
It's incredible.
so,
He's
yeah.
he's fucking with Wilt Chamberlain records right now with this streak he's on of
Yeah.
35 plus points per game. He's just dropping 35 plus every single night, hitting game winners on the regular. DeMar DeRozan's been fantastic. Would not want to catch Chicago, but beatable. Philly with the new look, the new look Sixers with Harden and Embiid. We were just talking
I
about
think that's a
the
beatable.
Bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could beat the Bucks, who are reigning champions. Yeah, that's going to be a brutal series. The Cavs, who I definitely think we could beat the Cavs, and then the Nets are behind us. So, I mean, all of 7 of those. I mean, some teams are going to have to lose in the first round. The East is wild this year because some of those teams have to lose in round 1, and all of those teams feel like contenders.
Definitely.
But
I think they're going to have to climb their way up. I don't think you can face a team like the Sixers and then like back to back. I guess it would be like
it would be right now we
the
get
Bulls.
Philly in round 1. Then if we could get out of that one, we'd have Milwaukee and then Miami.
So
Yikes.
that's a tough road. That's a tough.
That's a tough road. That's a
So
tough road.
I don't know. I feel like you're gonna need to climb up the leaderboard. And they probably recognize that. They're probably like, like we have to start winning games because these games actually matter to like where our playoff positioning and how we're gonna win in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
But if you're one of those other teams, you're looking at us saying, okay, we'd have to go Boston, then I mean, it's hard for everybody.
I mean, it's hard for
the
anyone.
East is wide open. It's not going to be easy.
That's very true. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
very true.
So
It's hard for anyone, but it's going to be exciting to watch. I can't wait till.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah. As far as other new look teams, really, that's the probably the bulk of what we were trying to get in depth about. But the Lakers lost again to the new look Pelicans with CJ McCollum, who's been fantastic. He's averaging damn near 30 since he got to New Orleans. The Lakers just got embarrassed again at home by another bad under 500 team. I'm not sure what the hell their plan is. We've talked about the Lakers in prior episodes. They have not turned the corner yet, so that's really what needs to be said about that. They still don't look good.
They're just It's all I don't want to say they're hopeless, but it's looking like I don't know. Someone needs to step in because I mean,
I'm never gonna say that they're out of it until LeBron is literally eliminated and is gone sitting at home. But God, I mean, I really, really, really don't think they're contenders at this point. Like, and you always are with LeBron, but yikes, this team is just badly assembled.
Yeah, I think you are when you have LeBron on your team, but LeBron's also got to believe you're contenders, and I just don't know if he has that much faith in this team. Like,
dude, he literally straight up said when they got blown out by like 50 to the Bucks, they asked him afterwards, right next to AD, they were on the stand together. They asked LeBron, like, "Do you think you could get to Milwaukee's level by the end of the year?" He just said, "No, I don't." That was it. Like, Jesus.
A lot of LeBron's actions this year have not been LeBron-esque. Like usually in seasons like this, you find like he says something to somebody else.
They didn't do anything at the trade deadline. Normally he ships out his whole team if they're not winning.
That's what I thought. I thought they were the whole bus was gone. Like I thought everyone was leaving. But like
problem was they didn't really the whole bus is all bumps. So they didn't really have any leverage. Besides their big three, everybody else is literally dog water. So
I would have kind of liked to see them. They would have never, but deal Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, the only option was for John Wall, and the Lakers turned it down. There was like a whole thing. That offer was on the table, and they said no. I mean, it's hard to say. Russell Westbrook's
it's hard to say, but that could have been like. I mean, at some point, you have to sacrifice team for skill. Like, there's got to be something like a new head or just like somebody to like kind of rejuvenate your squad because it just felt like I don't know. It just feels like this. It almost feels like this team's hopeless. Like I don't even feel like LeBron, like what you said with the comments, and just like generally like just doesn't seem that motivated to be out there. So you need somebody else to step up. Who else is going to step up? Davis just looks to LeBron all the time. Like I see it so much. I'm just like I'm sorry, but Anthony Davis, you're gonna have to look out for your own self at some point. Like
it's just been hard to watch. AD
Frank Vogel is just
looks so unmotivated. Yeah, but like LeBron is the only LeBron puts up 35, 10, and 10 every single night. I mean, he's having ridiculous year numbers wise, but it's just not there for them. Nobody else doing anything, including AD, who is supposed to be his team. People are talking about how it's Anthony Davis's team now. LeBron's getting up there. AD still in his prime. Like it's his team. LeBron's the second option. No. That's already a joke. Anthony Davis has been terrible.
Yeah, it's just I don't really know what the answer is for them. And I mean, we could talk about it all day, but like at the end of the day, like there's nothing.
At the end of the day, we'll be back here next week, the week after, probably talking about the same thing. They're still 6-7 below 500. It's just not working. So until they're mathematically eliminated, I'm not going to count them out really, just because it is LeBron, and I know what he did to the Celtics for 10 years in the East. And they could steal a series in the West, but they're not winning a championship, I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, I don't. No, I think they're
far from it. I know.
They're
far from a hot take.
They're far from it. Yeah, that's not a hot take. Like, I think it'd be a hot take to be like, yo, they're not making playoffs at all. Like, that's a story. But I think this team is capable of winning a couple of games in the playoffs. Series, different question. But like,
and they'll if they end up playing in the play-in, I definitely believe that they'll win the play-in game and get a spot in the playoffs. Like, because it's just a one hitter. LeBron could give you 50, just like he did last year in the
Yeah.
play-in.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to talk about because you're right. Like they're not really going anywhere. It's not like, oh, LeBron's been talking to his teammates and any day now, we can see it's like no, like they're just kind of
yeah,
giving
yeah.
up. So yeah. But
The other new looks around the league are probably just the two sides of the Halliburton Sabonis trade. I guess is the last big stuff. Just because Halliburton has looked actually really, really good in Indy. He's averaging a crazy amount of assists. I think his first 3 games there, he had like 20 and 16
yeah, I
assists,
did
like
see
something
that.
along the lines of that, like 3 games straight. Like he was like, geez,
Yeah.
he's actually just playmaking out of his mind. He's looking really good. They beat the Celtics the other night.
Oh
That
yeah.
the Pacers did.
Pretty
So yeah,
comfortable.
Tyrese looks he looks very good. I think it was a great trade for the Pacers. I still definitely stand by it. I mean, Sabonis was an all-star, but you weren't getting anywhere with him. You now have a young centerpiece that you can actually build a organization around and build your future around. I think Tyrese Halliburton is a great, great player. And Indy's looking good. They could, they could potentially still. I don't know where they are in the standings. Let me look right now, but
Yeah. I think Indy.
yeah, they're not making the play-in. They're not making the play-in. Never
Yeah.
mind. They're out
Yeah.
of it.
I think the main thing Indy was looking for is like if you remember, like Indy had like some like solid like I would say like type A guys. Like so what I mean by that is like Danny Granger. Maybe not Danny Granger, but like Paul
Way
George.
back.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a wow. Like Paul George, where it's like you want like a main guy in Indy that can kind of because Indy loves those guys, like like Reggie Miller. Like they like having like kind of that.
They needed one badly too after all this
They
year of
did.
just
They did.
mediocrity.
They did. And so I think they were like looking for that guy. And I think they see what like rightfully so a lot in Tyrese Halliburton that can transfer over to that team and he can kind of fill that kind of eventually in time, like that stature that they're kind of looking for. So I think it's a good move overall. Hopefully it works out for them in the future. I think it will. I don't know how good Halliburton will be in the future, but
yeah, I mean he's got all-star potential. He's got an all-star ceiling, but yeah, well, it'll just see how good he can.
I do think it's the bigger upside than Sabonis was going to be for you, and he provides more value than Sabonis was going to provide for you. So
yeah,
it's a good move overall.
Speaking of Sabonis, the Kings initially the first 2 games together with Fox and Sabonis, they won both of them. They both had great numbers. The 2-man game between the two of them was looking fantastic, actually. Better than anyone I think really had anticipated. The first 2 games was like really exciting, which is exactly why I said that about the Sixers. You said it too, where you don't want to overreact to just the first 2 games with the new team because everybody's always excited. It's like a new team, fresh. Yeah, everybody's got some fresh motivation. I think they've lost 5 or 6 in a row since that. They have not won since the opening 2.
Yeah,
and it's just Sacramento with Sacramento. It's just very tough. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with that city, that team.
But I honestly think the Halliburton move made sense for the Pacers, but didn't make sense for Sacramento at all. Like I feel like
they're just desperate to get into the play-in tournament, and they're within reach. They were only a game out. Now they're 3.5, 4 out because of all these losses. It's like. But that's what they did. They I'm completely agree with you. They traded away their young future for a win now piece in Sabonis.
Yeah,
that's only going to barely even get you to the 10 spot through a play-in game that you're going to lose and not even make the playoffs.
I just think
I know
I get it's Sacramento. I get you want to make the playoffs. We all do. Okay,
it's been like 15 years. It's the longest drought in the league. It's horrible drought. They want to make the playoffs.
It's horrible. They desperately want to make the playoffs, which I wouldn't blame them. They haven't made it in so long. But at the same time, like you are maybe a year or 2 out from being like a solid 7 seed team. Like maybe not like 1, but
and that's all they want though. That was all they wanted, and they just gave up on a chance to do it. You're not gonna like the Western Conference with Sabonis and Fox as your duo. I'm sorry. I don't even think in the future, like next year, I think they miss again. Like, I mean, I love De'Aaron Fox, and he's having a down year, and maybe he does come back and have a crazy good year next year. And Sabonis maybe the same. But this duo as a playoff team in the West, you're never winning shit. I don't know.
I just think they had more to offer. Halliburton had more to offer that team than what they got out of them. I feel like I just
Definitely.
like if you let him be there for like a couple more years, maybe he becomes a superstar. Maybe you guys go to the playoffs and then he just leaves. But at least you got what you could have gotten out of him. They didn't even let him give them anything. And it's like, guys, like your main goal is to make the playoffs. We all know that. And the way to do that, like if you can't, because like let's be honest, like win now teams, in my personal opinion, I don't know if you agree with this, but are only for teams in big markets. Like the only teams that can kind of do big wing now scenarios, I believe, is Boston, LA, Brooklyn, cities like that. Because in New York, cities like that, because cities like that attracts top talent. So I feel like it's easier to get like a guy like Westbrook or so it's just easier, I feel like, to do it in cities like that. Sacramento, no one's going to Sacramento voluntarily. So like I just think that had a team in a market like that having a win now mentality is not right. Like it's just not going to work out for you because now we're
Yeah.
seeing it not work out for you. So I thought
Yeah. When you're in a small market like that, you need to find success through your drafting. And they drafted Halliburton. Like you hit your draft pick.
Yeah,
You hit your pick
yeah,
for the first time in years. They drafted so horribly before De'Aaron. There are only 3 decent draft picks: have been De'Aaron, Tyrese Halliburton, and Davion Mitchell. I guess we haven't seen really what he could turn into. But
yeah.
I mean, they've had some brutal draft picks. They finally hit on one, and a guy that wanted to be there. He was literally so loyal to Sacramento. He said how much he wanted to be there. They shipped him off. It's crazy. I mean, and like you said, I do agree with you about big markets. It's definitely a lot easier. I think there are certain special cases where you could still try to win now at certain moments if you're not a big market, but you can't beat a 13 seed in the conference having only young pieces to then give up on your future to bring in an older guy that's barely going to do anything for you as far as wins go, as far like positive wins go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why that wasn't the right move for Sacramento, but
There,
I do think you're right
there
about
are
big markets, small
exceptions. There
markets.
are exceptions, but those exceptions are big names. Sorry, Sack, you have no big like Fox is not a big name. I'm sorry. I love De'Aaron Fox
Yeah,
to death. I
yeah.
think he will be a good player in the NBA eventually, but it's not. He's not a big enough name to be like, okay, I'm gonna go. Like Portland's got Lillard. Like that's the name. We got Damian Lillard. Like beautiful. That's all you
And
need.
even he can't get anyone to go to Portland.
I don't want to go to Portland. So it's like that's my point. Where it's like, sure, like you can get people in not big markets to a win now scenario, but you're gonna need at least the core set before you're gonna even try to get a bigger piece. So that's why I was kind of like with Sack. I'm like, if you wait a couple of years and Fox and Halliburton become really like a good backcourt, then you can go out and get big, bigger names.
Seriously,
Like
yeah. If
not
you're
James
like a
Harden.
wing or a big in free agency, that's really good. And you're looking at this young backcourt that's been winning games for the last couple of years, and oh shit, Fox is only 25, Halliburton's only 24. Just a couple of years down the line, oh maybe I will go there.
Yeah,
Now Sabonis is going to be 32 in the next couple of
yeah.
years.
So
He'll
bonus is
be in
so
his
old.
30s, and numbers will be down, and Fox will be unhappy to be there still. And it's just they get. You're not getting nobody's going there because they look at a duo and say, "Oh man, Sabonis and Fox, that would be fun to go to."
Bonus.
No,
No,
nobody wants that.
no. No one wants that. And no one wants like at least if you have the backcourt, like because now people just think it's a set fucking team. They're like, oh, well, they got Fox, they got Sabonis. So it's kind of like, where's my place in there? Whereas if you got Halliburton and Fox, it's like, all right, we can get a wing guy, we can get like a bigger guy. Like, I just feel like the Sabonis move seemed like they wanted, and you're right, it seemed like they wanted like a win now type of like deal, but they didn't have a win now roster. And Halliburton was your way of becoming potentially like a playoff team in the future. So I like
Yeah,
how it's working out for Indiana. Seems like it's working out for them pretty well. But I think if you're Sacramento or a Sacramento fan, you need to you reevaluate your front office.
for real. And at the time, we can be done with the Kings because probably not too many Sacramento fans watching
Yeah,
this
I was
on
gonna say there's
like
probably
East Coast spot. But
these
at
guys.
the time, they were only a game out of the play-in when they made this trade. And not to say that it's too late now, but it damn near is. They're now 4.5 out. I
Yep.
mean, you can't just go on that skid. So at the time, and they were a game out and they won their first two together. There was a chance, even a few weeks ago, there was a chance that maybe this could work out and it could have some fun and make it be in the play-in tournament, maybe steal the game and maybe end up in the play. It's just, it feels like it's already too late and it's only been 2 weeks. So like,
No, yeah.
they just,
No, yeah. And that's the problem with doing win now teams is like, and we can end soon, but that's the problem with doing win now teams is you're putting a lot of your chips on the table like really quick. And it's like,
yeah.
dude, if you just wait a little bit, you might be able to get an offer that, kind of suits you. When the problem with win now teams is if it doesn't work out, shit, you're out of luck for the next couple of years. Like you don't have anything, you don't have a backup. So it's like, that's why I think a team like Sacramento, like putting your chips like all on the table, like at the beginning of a person's career, like what the fuck are you doing? Like there's better ways to use that piece. You could have got more out of them in the future years. Like if it really didn't work out, like Halliburton and Fox aren't again meshing well or whatever. That's a way more valuable guy. And you can get someone way better than Sabonis. No offense to Sabonis, but you can get somebody way better in the future than you could have gotten.
I know. And yeah, same with me. Like no offense to Sabonis. I agree. But like you're right. Like Halliburton's probably the most valuable asset to walk through the door in Sacramento in like a decade. They haven't had that type of value in a trade piece. And they already have dished him at age 20 and a half. He's already gone out the door for a 30-year-old 19 and 10 guy at best that can't stretch. Like what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, but we could be done with that. But yeah. So crazy new look NBA.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for playoffs, but hopefully the Celtics just keep rolling because man, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a good ride for sure. I'm hoping we can. I just want to stay out of headlines because that's like been the problem with Celtics lately. It's just they've been in headlines. I'm like, I want out of the headlines.
Facts. And now that we're like 20-5 in the last 25, like we don't get talked about at all. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. All people want to do is stir up shit.
No, the
Jays have to split up. Well, the Jays are playing well, and nobody's talking about it anymore.
Exactly.
But the second one of them has like a bad stretch. It's back to it.
That's all the media's turned into for NBA, at least nowadays. It's like who's leaving, what's not working, and it's like, all right, can we actually talk about like if you asked I even think the average NBA fan, like how the Bulls are doing, no one would say they were like a 2 seed, and no one knows about DeRozan because DeRozan doesn't get talked about. It's kind of bullshit in my opinion, but it's like, guys, can we just like talk about like better things that are going
positive things?
Yeah,
positive things happening. Like it doesn't always have to be who's trash right now. Even though sometimes, I mean, we're a sports podcast, so sometimes like that's what it comes to for us too. But, that's just the media. That's how it works.
It's how it works. It's how it works.
It's how it works. In time, if it's your own team, it's fucked up. But so I hate to hear about the Jays, but I mean, whatever. To be fair, I guess. It's just the way the world works.
Yeah, I just, I mean, only watch targeting if you actually want to hear real news. So NBA news.
Facts.
Like, I don't know.
This is the place. This is the place to get your news. So you should definitely hang around.
Definitely hang around. Exactly. But yeah, I think that's all we got for today. I'm excited for the playoffs. I'm excited to see how, obviously how the Celtics will do. Hopefully they can keep this run going. But yeah.
Facts. Yeah. We'll be back at it next week. We'll be back.
Well, we got
the week after that. So
we got a good episode next week. We'll be doing I don't even know.
We got a little game for you guys. We got
a little game.
I
say that. We got a little game. So if you made it this far, obviously like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week with a game. So I'm stumbling.
Be back.
Definitely check in next week because we got a special episode. So Justyn, has been always talking to you. Been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, my guy. Always a pleasure.
We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.